In 1973, the California condor was the first species listed under the Endangered Species Act. Condors are important for their consumption of dead animals and subsequent nutrient cycling. Without them, the task of carrion eating falls on other species, who may be more inefficient or even carry disease, possibly exposing ecosystems to bacteria they don't regularly face with the condors present. By the mid-1980s, only 22 condors were left in the wild. An executive decision was then made, the California Condor Recovery Plan. Led by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, the plan aimed to establish two geographically separate populations of 150 wild birds each, and to retain a third in captivity to support. Every wild condor left was taken into captivity by 1987 in order to monitor reproduction and growth closely. Captive breeding was a success. The first chick hatched only a year after total condor captivity, and the number of new fledglings continued to expand until there were over 160 birds in 1999. These captive-raised condors are released in special areas including Monterey County, where they ideally mate and reproduce. Today, there are more than 430 condors worldwide, roughly half of which are wild. The California Condor Recovery Plan is in its final phase of recovery, involving wild-raised chicks and minimizing the threat of lead, which is one of the greatest threats to condor health. Lead bullets, commonly used for game hunting, fragment once lodged inside the target's body. California condors are especially susceptible to lead poisoning because of their scavenging nature. Research conducted by Myra Finkelstein and others at UC Santa Cruz suggests that about half of the wild condors in California have lead levels high enough to hospitalize. The Peregrine Fund makes it their goal to capture every condor annually and test them for lead levels, treating those who require it. In 2007, the Ridley Tree Condor Preservation Act was passed by legislature, banning lead ammunition from being used on big game within specific areas the condor uses as hunting grounds. Further movements, in the form of Assembly Bill 711, have been made to completely ban lead bullets in California by 2019. Further expansions on wild condor territory are being considered for Northern California and Southern Oregon after sightings of attempted condor nesting in Big Sur in 2014. Through careful monitoring and further conservation efforts, one day we might be able to see these birds flying openly through our skies.
Free-flying condors get trapped up about twice a year to check their health and to replace their battery transmitters, and at the same time they collect a little bit of blood and look in that blood for lead concentration. And we did not detect any change in blood lead exposure rates or magnitude of exposure, so how many times the birds were exposed or to how high levels, either before or after the ban when we looked at it. So we concluded that if there wasn't a positive effect of the ban in terms of reducing the lead exposure to condors, we hadn't been able to see it yet. The lead poisoning rates in condors is very variable throughout a year and between years, and so it could take many years to be able to detect a difference. Restriction of the use of lead-based ammunition in California will help to prompt other states to also look at regulating the use of lead-based ammunition, because we know that lead-based ammunition kills other scavenging species such as golden eagles and bald eagles at a national scale. So I think any reduction in the use of lead-based ammunition is good for environmental health and also human health.